Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. It is Friday, August 2nd, and here is your Ukraine war news for today. This is a daily brief. 1,100 Russian casualties in the last 24 hours, 3 tanks off the battlefield, 8 armored combat vehicles, 42 artillery pieces, 56 vehicles and fuel tanks. If we look at Andrew Perpetua's list, we see that it's about, 2 to 1, not quite 2 to 1, something along those lines. So I saw this and I thought, well, this is really interesting. Let's stop and unpack this. Statistics of downed Russian missiles and drones for July 2024. First, that's a lot that was fired into Ukraine from Russia over the last month. But what's interesting is what's been hit. The Kh-59 missiles, 100%. Shahed drones, 92% they've been able to knock down. What have they not been able to hit? Well, they've had a really hard time with Iskander missiles, 25 and 14% respectively. They've done a lot better with Caliber missiles. They've not been able to hit any Kh-22, Kh-35, or Zircon missiles. And there's only been a few of them, very expensive, but only been a few of them that they've shot into Ukraine, but they've not been able to hit these. So perhaps this is part of the role for F-16s to be able to take down the things that they're not able to hit. Don't waste it on Shaheds, spend it on these particular missiles that have been difficult for them. Over the past 24 hours, Russian troops shelled Kherson and Kherson Oblast 9 times, damaging energy infrastructure that caused widespread power outages, killing 1 civilian with a drone strike. Now, the ISW has been talking about what's going on here, where's the hot place in the war. So we're going to look at this. Current Russian efforts in the Pokrovsk direction are concentrated on achieving tactical breakthrough near these two cities. Now, again, Pokrovsk is going to be like the focal point here. There's a road that comes through here and there's supply lines and it's like the big road for the area. It's significant. This city is very, very significant. Now, to put this in perspective, I'm going to read a little bit more and then help you with some perspective. The next defensible line between the current and forward Russian line of advance and Pokrovsk runs between the towns of Seldov, Novokorodivka, and Hrevdivka. Okay, with many of the current Russian tactical advances focused specifically on this sector of the line. So what does that mean? So this line runs between this town and this town and this town. So that's where the line is. So there's a line here that's going to be in between the salient and Pokrovsk. Salient just means this area that's jutting out as opposed to a straight line. Okay, now, next little thing. Novohorvdivka and Horvdivka had pre-war populations of about 14,000 and 2,000 respectively, and are larger and relatively more urban than many of the smaller settlements that Russian forces have seized since they began moving west of Avdiivka in February of 2024. Okay, so February, they finally took Avdiivka. Let's look at Avdiivka, where that is on the map, here. And from here to here, it's not that far. It's about 25 kilometers that they've gone since February. But they're trying to push this way, and the Ukrainians know that, and they have massed forces here. So that's what we're looking at on the map. These towns are by no means as large and urban as Mariupol or even Bakhmut, for example, but they pose a very different tactical problem set for advancing Russian forces who have recently been mostly advancing across open fields, small windbreaks, and settlements. Okay, so it's going to be challenging for them to get there, but that's what the Russians want to do. But the question is, can they? Ukrainian troops are notably more exhausted and attrited now than they were in early 2024 when Russian forces seized Avdiivka, which was also heavily fortified, and Russian troops will likely continue to exploit that reality to enable tactical advances. But so are the Russians. They're going to run out of steam pretty soon as well. The rate of Russian advance is likely to slow, nevertheless, as Russian forces become engaged near and in these larger towns and settlements. So I think they're going to run out of steam here in a month or two, and you're not going to see this 1,100 casualty, 1,200, 1,300 casualty rate. I think you'll see something that's more normal of a tempo for the war, something down to 800, 700, something in that neighborhood. Okay, an oil refinery in Russia is on fire. This was yesterday, about 20 hours ago, so during the day yesterday. At night, there was a ballistic missile strike on Sevastopol, Crimea. Video of tonight's Russian air defense activity in Sevastopol, but I'm not actually showing the video, but this ballistic missile strike, what are they trying to attack? So Russians could have lost another S-400 air defense system. That it appears probable that that's what they were going for, based on NASA firm's thermal map. OSINT researchers suggest Ukraine's last night ATACMS attack targeted a known position of an S-400 battery. So that's what they're going for. And I saw headlines like this: Ukraine hitting deep into Russia because air defenses are eroded. So that's what they're trying to accomplish here. They're trying to erode the air defenses so that they can push forward. Bodies of 250 servicemen, that's Ukrainian servicemen, have been returned to Ukraine. The bodies of the servicemen killed in Luhansk, Bakhmut, Mariinka, Avdiivka, Kherson, etc. In Russia have been returned to Ukraine. They'll get a proper burial and the respect. This was reported to the coordination headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war. So it's not a lot, but it's something that is the right thing to be happening. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some political events. Republican strategists, so not yesterday, day before yesterday, Trump was speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists. I just put the pieces together to put my next video is talking about how Trump is having an absolutely terrible week. Harris is having a great week, and I'm trying to be fair and explain, like, yeah, she is doing well, and wow, okay, so you'll get a taste of what happened here. For looking forward to that video.
I think he deserves some points for showing up at this thing and giving it a go. Where's Kamala Harris today? Not there. But that having been said, he did crap the bed today. The only question is whether he's going to roll around in it or get up and change his sheets.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look very good, and even Bill O'Reilly was talking about that. Like, Bill O'Reilly was a very prominent Fox News commentator for many years, and even he was saying, like, wow, this was bad performance.
Because she's sitting there cackling. Look at this. Yeah, look at this. Look at Trump. He's just alienated millions of black voters who aren't going to really get what happened there. The broadside against Kamala Harris was that she's a phony, that she used one bit of ethnicity to do this, one bit to do that. But Trump didn't articulate it. But,
yeah, and it wasn't a good look for Trump, and Harris is admittedly doing better than Trump. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Okay. Shifting gears again, Garry Kasparov had a brilliant idea, and I think I want to extend the idea. I propose sending another F-16 to Ukraine every time Russia takes another innocent hostage or commits another act of sabotage. Deterrence, not deals. Allowing Putin's mafia to recycle killers and spies can't go on forever. Yeah, that would be a good idea this would be a good policy for NATO when it crosses, a missile crosses into Romanian airspace. Oh, there goes another F-16 to Ukraine, right? Because if you do nothing except say strong words, guess what? It happens again and again and again and again. So something like that doesn't have to be F-16s, but something like that needs to be the policy. Okay, Google denies linking YouTube's failures to hardware obsolescence. Russia has actually started blocking the service as technical experts. Now, I covered this a couple of days ago, but this was really interesting the way that it worked out. Disruptions in the work of YouTube in Russia, quote, are not the result of any technical problems, unquote, on the part of Google, the corporation told Kommersant Media. The slowdown occurred exactly 1 week after the statement by the State Duma deputy, Alexander Kishkin. On July 25th, he wrote that the authorities would reduce the download speed of the desktop version of YouTube to about 40% this week and 70% the next week. Kishkin added that this follows the hosting service's anti-Russian policy. So if you can predict when the hardware is going to fail, it probably wasn't the hardware failing. Okay, I saw this and I found it terrifying. Those aren't birds. Those are drones in the shape of a falcon, demonstrated at a Chinese army exercise. It looks like a bird, but it's actually a drone. Like, that's pretty crazy stuff. the technology here is absolutely amazing. How about that? And it made me think of the birds aren't real. There's a group on Instagram and on Facebook. Birds aren't real. They used to be until the U.S. government killed every bird and replaced them with surveillance drones replicas. Yeah, and they have a big presence now. It's like a conspiracy theory kind of group, but it's satirical. Right? It's a satirical conspiracy theory which posits that birds are actually drones operated by the U.S. government to spy on American citizens. But I mean, these birds, like, wow, these drones that's something significant. All right, I want to leave you with one last thing. Ukrainian veterans who defend the country against the Russian aggression are being integrated back into ordinary life. And this is what ordinary life is going to look like for these Ukrainians. Just look at the picture, get a sense of this is what ordinary life is going to be like for them. All right, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.